Hey everyone, so I'm finally getting around to do a very highly requested video, and that's on how to sanitize your makeup, especially if you're working on other people or on clients or you're sharing your makeup and that kind of stuff, because obviously there's a really high risk of passing on germs and infections and stuff like cold sores and nasty eye infections, which does happen, what you of course want to avoid. So I'll start off with any cream products or anything in a jar. So we're talking about like your moisturizers or like primers or any foundations that could be in a jar, or any like cream foundations, anything like that. The only way you can really truly keep those clean is by scooping out the product, so that you're not actually inviting any germs or anything from brushes into the product. So the thing you really need to have here is a little palette of some sort. Now, the best palettes to have are the stainless steel ones or little glass ones. They mightn't be the easiest to find like in a makeup store, but you'll get them in like art stores and stuff like that, so they can be found. And then they're the only ones that you can truly totally clean down and get rid of germs, because they're totally flat surface. The plastic ones are okay, especially, I mean, you can use them on yourself and you can give them a fairly good sanitization and cleaning with alcohol and stuff like that, but plastic will absorb product and stuff over time, so it's not the ideal. It's not to say I don't use it sometimes, but if you can get your more metallic ones or metal ones, definitely that'll be a bit better, or the glass, which mightn't be the most suitable for traveling with, but it is really easy to clean. So you'll have your little spatula, something like this. You can get metal ones as well. They're of course handier to have and they're not disposable, you can use them again and again. And then you're literally just going to scoop up a little bit of your product, pop it onto your clean palette, and then you can work from there. And that way you're not going, putting anything back into your cream products or your jars or anything like that. So that's the main thing. When it comes to liquid foundations, of course, most of them you can just pump onto your palette, or you can just squeeze them on. That's not a bother, it's not really an issue there. When it comes to things like stick foundations or stick concealers, again, what you can do is scoop it just using your spatula just from the top. So you can often get like these kind of spatulas. These are disposable ones you get from like a salon supplier or a makeup store. Again, you'll get them in art stores, at least in the art stores, so you can get your proper metal ones which are better for cleaning, so they're really handy. So anything, you don't really have to worry about stuff that you squeeze at, because you can always squeeze that onto your palette, but for these guys it's all about scraping off and putting onto your palette, and that's how you're going to keep those clean. Now, it's still no harm every now and again in giving it a little bit of a clean, just maybe every few weeks or few months or so. So what you're going to be using when you're cleaning your makeup is you want to get alcohol of some sort. Now, this is called surgical spirits here in Ireland and the UK, possibly on the continent as well. I think in America you call it rubbing alcohol. So basically, the higher percentage of alcohol, the better. This is a 96% alcohol base. So what that means is the higher it is in alcohol, the less fillers like oils and stuff like that are in it. And it means that it'll just, sanitize or disinfect your makeup, and then pretty much immediately just evaporate into the air. So the lower alcohol ones, like the 70%, aren't quite as good. They tend to leave a bit more of a residue. So I would try and go for the higher alcohol content. Definitely you'll get them in more specialist stores for makeup and stuff like that, and also in chemists. A lot of chemists and pharmacies will have it. Not everyone carries them, but it can be a little bit hard to get hold of, but if you can, you're just going to have to try it. You'll get them somewhere. So this is the surgical spirits that I use, and then it's just from Boots. It was very inexpensive. It was only about €4, and it's like a 500ml bottle, so it'll take you just to get through that. You have I have my little spray bottle here that I got in Boots, empty, and I pop my alcohol in here, clearly labelled alcohol, and then I spritz it. So what you could do is you could spritz it directly onto this. Not the best thing though, because sometimes the alcohol can go back down in here and loosen it up from where it's embedded, and means it can fall out. So what I would tend to do is either put a little bit of alcohol into like a little beaker of some sort, and then just dip this up to about there, just the part that gets used, into the alcohol, and then just lightly rub it off onto a tissue. Another good thing to do would be to have your tissue and then spritz the alcohol onto the tissue, and then you can rub and wipe away the top layer, so you're getting the alcohol on there to sanitize it and to disinfect it, as well as taking away maybe any surface germs. And that way, you know, you leave that for a couple of seconds, you know, maybe 10-15 seconds. Once it evaporates, you can immediately put it back in. This has never ever damaged any of my makeup. So that same thing you would do when it comes to lipsticks. Same idea. Again, you need to make sure that you're scooping it out. Otherwise, I mean, I often do just use it from the bullet. I'd use a little brush, lipstick brush, directly use it from there, but you just have to make sure you clean it before and after every single use to make sure it's clean. My favourite thing to do again is to spritz the alcohol onto the tissue and then rub away the top of your lipstick. You can of course dip it into a bit of a beaker again, but the only problem is sometimes when you flip it back over there'll be a little bit too much on, it comes down here and it ends up loosening it again. So that's one thing you have to be careful not to get too much alcohol, because it will kind of dissolve the product if there's too much of it there, and then you know, too much of it to dissolve or to evaporate. So that's pretty much how you're going to deal with any of those cream products and stuff like that. Now I think the main clincher here is to do with powder products. People think that if you're spraying any kind of liquid type substance on them that they're going to totally ruin the top of it. That's not the case. So I've often, I mean I do this, I have to do this with all my stuff in my kit. I just spritz a little bit, leave that dry, and then it will darken up a little bit because you are putting a liquid type substance onto it, and then in a few seconds it'll just dry up because it's such a high alcohol content, and it doesn't affect the top of the powder at all. It just it's perfect, and it's practically dry there. A couple of like darker drops there, they'll go within another few seconds, and then this has never, like I said, left any residue or hardness on the top of my powders. Where that will happen is if you use an alcohol that isn't high enough, that has like maybe like less than 70%, and if it's not up to 70% anyhow, it's not going to do the work that you need it to do. It's not going to disinfect well enough. So you need to have the higher alcohol content. With those lower alcohol content ones, like I was saying, they have oils and other stuff in them that are going to possibly leave residues on your powders and are going to leave that film, and it's not going to be good. So what I would do before and after every powder like this that I use on a customer, I give it a wipe with a tissue. So you're going to go through tissues like no one's business, but that's no harm. And then you do your spritz, and then you just let it dry, close it up, and it's ready to go. I do this with all my blushers, my bronzers, my powders, my eyeshadows. No bother with any of them. I've never had any bother. But like I said, keep in mind it has to be the higher content. When it comes to loose powders or loose eyeshadows or loose pigments, again, it's just a case of scooping a little bit out and putting it onto your palette, or I'd often just use a tissue that I'll be throwing away afterwards and popping a little bit onto that, so that you're not double dipping and going back in with a dirty brush into your product or into your pigment, which will just introduce germs, and it's impossible to sanitize something that's loose and that's like running or jumping all around the place and everything's getting mingled up together. So just be aware of that. Now the only other real major thing that you'd want to make sure you are keeping sanitized are your mascaras. So of course I'll use my own mascara on myself, that's no bother, but if I have mascaras in my kit, the main thing is never ever ever double dip. So you're going to have your wand obviously in it. Just never use this on anyone or yourself or anything like that if it is in your kit. You're going to always just pop your wand down, leave it on your table, it won't really get used, and then you're going to have to make sure you have plenty of these guys, and these are mascara wands. They're the disposable mascara wands. So to do one eye, you're going to dip in the mascara wand, take it out, do your mascara, then throw this away. You're not supposed to, like, really, if you want to be like really pedantic about it, you wouldn't really use the same mascara wand. Now I'm sure I do and I have when I'm in a hurry, but if you want to be really really anal about it, you would throw away the mascara wand after your first eye, get a clean mascara wand, do the other eye, just in case there was a little bit of infection on one eye that you were going to pass on to the other one. And then definitely make sure you don't dip that mascara wand back into the pot again. It's totally going to make having these like useless because you're still doubling and dipping. The main thing is to never ever ever double dip. So you'll dip once, use, throw away, get a new one, dip, use, throw away. So you could go through like, I mean, you could go through maybe 5 or 6 some mascara ones sometimes on the one person when you're talking about doing the eyebrows, maybe with clear mascara, as well as doing your own their lashes and putting on plenty of layers and stuff like that. It's just something you have to do if you're working in makeup. So you know, you just have to deal with it, and that's how it works, and that's the only way you can truly make sure that you're keeping your clients safe and you're covering your own back, because you don't want to be causing any infections and stuff like that. And of course it'd be extremely bad for business, and it wouldn't do much for your you know, your reputation or anything like that. But even when it just comes to sharing with friends, maybe you don't have to be quite as anal about this, but you know, it's your own risk because it's 2 friends doing it together. But you still would, to be really safe, you would still be doing all these little things to make sure that you don't spread anything. So you know, when it comes to pencils as well, that's another thing. You want to make sure that you clean the pencil. So again, have a little bit of alcohol in a beaker, or you could just spritz the alcohol onto the pencil or onto a bit of tissue. Then you're going to get your pencil parer or sharpener, whatever you call it. This is something you will be cleaning quite a lot as well with alcohol. I have to do it. Then you're going to sharpen your pencil. And then just in case there was by any chance anything on your sharpener, you need to go back with your alcohol. Let's just pretend that this is a clean tissue. You're going to have to go back with your alcohol and just quickly spritz it, just again to kill anything, and then let it dry for 2 seconds and you can pop it on. And you pretty much have to do that every time as well, just to make sure that you're covering yourself. So it might seem like it's a lot of work, but it's not really. And like, I do it without even thinking now, and it doesn't add any time onto the routine. It honestly is no bother at all, really. And that's pretty much it as far as it comes to makeup products. I think that pretty much covers everything. So if you can't scoop it, you're going to spritz it, or you're going to dip it, you know, it's just, or you're going to get a little bit out with a tiny little spoon onto your tissue or your palette or anything like that. So when it comes to this kind of thing here, just last, you know, something that's in this kind of paint pot, again, you're going to be using disposable products. So if you can use like a little disposable eyeliner brush, or use an eyeliner brush, dip it in once, try and get as much off as possible, put it on the back of your hand, which would have been sanitized beforehand, or onto your spatula, and then work from that. Don't double dip into these again, because again, you're just going to cause more havoc, and anything that's water based as well will harbour much more germs and bacteria than dry products. Because when it comes to powder products, once they're dry, the any bacteria and stuff like that is dormant, because it needs the moist environment to actually live. So just be aware of that as well. Make sure that all your powders and stuff are kept nice and dry and somewhere clean and safe. So that was it. I hope this was helpful. Thanks a million for watching, guys, and I'll chat to you all really soon. Siobhán!